Hi everyone, I'm Sidath Gajanayaka. I have with me Uditha Devapriya.
Hi.
Uditha is the author of enduring works, The Thomian Journey, special publication published to commemorate the 175th anniversary of St. Thomas's College.
So, Siddharth, before we get started on the book,
Yes.
maybe you can tell us the origin story.
Yes. So Uditha, publishing a book of this nature was not an easy task. It involved a lot of research. I believe you did all the research. But however, what is the concept, you asked me? The concept was that we wanted to publish a book which was different to what had been published before. As St. Thomas's College already boasts a lot of authoritative history books. So we did not want to publish a history book per se. And we wanted to look at how St. Thomas's has evolved in the 175 years. Because St. Thomas's has not evolved in isolation. It has done so blending with the social fabric of Sri Lanka. So we wanted to see how St. Thomas's has contributed to the Sri Lankan society and how the Sri Lankan society or the social fabric of Sri Lanka has in turn shaped how St. Thomas's has maneuvered over these 175 years. So that was the inspiration and the concept behind this book. And also we wanted to see the Thomian identity, which had been developed over the 175 years. So that's where we are.
That's the genesis.
Yes.
Okay.
So Uditha, can you first tell us what is there in the book?
Well, I think the first aspect that needs to be covered is the structure of the book.
Yes.
First and foremost, as you can see, it's quite big. It's about 320 or so pages. It's divided into 6 chapters. The first 5 chapters looks into the history of the college. The first chapter looks into the prehistory of the college, the events that led to the founding of the school. The second chapter looks into the early period of college when it was located in Mutwa. Third chapter looks into its early history in Mount Lavinia, where it moved to in 1918. The fourth chapter charts its history from the 1940s to the 1970s, which are very crucial because that's when Sri Lanka gained independence and all the chaos and turbulence of the post-independence years, how they impacted the school and so on and so forth. The fifth chapter looks at an equally turbulent period in our country's history from 1978, when the whole social and economic fabric of our country basically changed, how that impacted college. And finally, in the 6th chapter, we try to speculate on what the future of the college might look like. And here we took a bit of a gamble because it's always very difficult to predict the future, especially the future we are looking at right now in terms of the country as well as the world. But how would a future be like? There are many futures we can imagine, but how would the future look like for St. Thomas's through the perspective of a Thomian?
Yes.
So that's what we tried to chart in the last chapter. That's basically the structure of the book.
Right. So thanks Uditha. Any interesting works and stories and images that a reader would find in this book?
Well, first and foremost, Siddharth, this is a visual historical narrative. So it's not just about the text and the historical research, it's also about the images. And for people out looking for beautiful photographs that add meaning to the text, to the historical research, it's all there in the book. There are aerial views of St. Thomas's College, there are visually alluring photographs of various corners and spaces in college, and not just in college. What we've done in this book is we've gone to the primary sources and we've also tried to chart never before seen historical research on not just Mount Lavinia, but also St. Thomas's College Gurutalawa, St. Thomas's College Bandaravela, and St. Thomas's Preparatory School Kolupitiya, because all that is part of the Thomian family.
Exactly.
And that makes its way to the visual historical narrative in this book as well. There are so many historical anecdotes, interesting anecdotes that are there in the book, and in the interest of space, but also because I don't want to spoil everything, I won't mention a lot of them. I will mention 2 of them. This story or history of St. Thomas's looks at Bishop James Chapman, the founder of St. Thomas's College, his initial decision to try to locate St. Thomas's in this very spot that we are in right now in Mount Lavinia. as we know, that didn't come to pass. He had to shift, basically, he had to locate his school in Mutwal. It was much, much later after he had died that the school finally took the decision to come to Mount Lavinia, where he had originally intended it to be. That's one anecdote. The other interesting anecdote, which I think will interest historians and Thomians alike, non-Thomians and Thomians alike, is basically the decision of the then warden, R.S. Seram, to take, or rather to employ, a group of Sinhala scholars, linguists.
Post-independence.
Post-independence, after 1948. Actually, it's around 1948 that this actually starts to happen.
Yes.
When he starts employing these Sinhala scholars and linguists as art teachers, geography teachers, and Sinhala teachers at St. Thomas's. The group of scholars who were known as Hela Howler, who were very influential at the time, even though they weren't regarded as being part of the establishment. So those are two of many anecdotes which find their way into this book. Not to mention old, never before seen historical images of both Mutwal and Mount Lavinia and St. Thomas's College when it stood in those two locations. We are talking about the pre-photography period in our country's history. So all those combine and they make their way to the narrative in this book. I think all in all, it will prove to be a visual feast for Thomians, non-Thomians, historians and general readers.
Uditha, you mentioned about photographs. Any particular photo that you want to highlight?
Well, I think there are many turning points in the history of St. Thomas's College, but to me, the most pivotal turning point was Easter Sunday 1942, when a Japanese plane crash landed at St. Thomas's College, Mount Lavinia. There's an interesting history and basically background story to that particular incident, which is all there in the book. But we've featured a visual collage of various scenes of the crash from different angles as they were actually taken at the time. And we've tried to reconstruct that particular incident as it unfolded on that very fateful Easter Sunday in 1942. Until that point, Sri Lanka was just about to enter World War II. It became a center of the Allied forces, basically command in the region, in South Asia and Southeast Asia. As a result, it attracted a lot of attention from the Axis powers, and one fine day in 1942, the Japanese decided to come here and do a Pearl Harbor here. And that actually led to one of its planes crash landing at St. Thomas's. So you talk about photographs. To me, as you would have correctly inferred, that is probably a pivotal turning point in the college's history and the country's history, because at that point, a lot of schools in Sri Lanka were going to the upcountry because of World War II. This particular incident compelled St. Thomas's to go to the upcountry as well, and it led advertently or inadvertently to the formation of other brother and sister schools in the highlands, including Gurutala Bandarala. So yes, among photographs, I would say that is probably one of the most interesting and significant photographs.
And rare photographs.
And rare. I mean, at the end of the day, this book has a lot of visual materials which haven't been featured before. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Definitely, definitely.
So Sidath, I think the question on everyone's mind right now is, where can I buy this book?
Yes, Uditha, I think that is the most pertinent question. So we printed two editions of this book. One is the special edition and the other is the standard edition. So we printed 175 copies of the special edition, and fortunately and unfortunately for some, we have sold 174 of those copies. And one special edition copy is remaining, which is to be auctioned in the future. So if someone wishes to, you can join the auction and then buy it. But of course, the standard edition is now available for sale. You can buy it at the All Boys Association Secretariat inside St. Thomas's College, Mount Lavinia. And also you can buy it online. You can go to www.175.stcmount.edu.lk/purchase and order your book online. The book is priced at 20,000 rupees, and we invite as many of you to get your hands on this book, not just Thomians, but anyone who is interested in Sri Lankan history in general, I think would find this book very interesting. And all the proceeds of the sales go to college. So buy a copy and
When you can.
yes, and then have a read and let us know what you think. Thank you.